Okay, it's happening. Welcome to Friday. We did it. Yes, we did it. We did it. Hi, I'm Chris. This is my Friday live stream. I try to do it every Friday when I can. Sometimes I won't be able to because I'm traveling for kids' sports or work or whatever. I'm going to be honest, my hair does not look good today. It kind of looks like a toupee. It's not. I get a much better toupee if this was my toupee. But it kind of looks like a toupee. Anyway, we're here. You're not here to talk about my hair. You're here to talk about politics and other stuff too. Thank you for coming. Let's see. A couple things. One, excuse me. If you're on this, you probably already know about my YouTube channel. So subscribe. Come on. At this rate, so I'm now at 21,000 subscribers. I'm adding about 1,000 a week. At this rate, I've calculated I will pass Mr. Beast's subscribers when I'm 672 years old. So I just have to wait it out. Just wait it out. Yeah. Anyway, but I am growing, which is great. Obviously want to grow faster, but always happy to grow. Movement upward is a good thing. So subscribe. Check out my 2 newsletters. So I write 2 daily newsletters. One is on politics. It's called So What? It's on Substack. And the other is called The Replay, and it's also on Substack. That one's about sports. Today I wrote about how June 17th, 1994 was, yes, a huge day in culture because O.J. Simpson and the White Bronco, right? But it was also a massive day in sports. The World Cup opened for the first time in the United States. Bill Clinton was there at Soldier Field opening the World Cup. Arnold Palmer played his final round at a U.S. Open at Oakmont on June 17th, 1994. It was a Friday. The New York Rangers held their ticker tape parade to celebrate their first Stanley Cup in 50 years that day in Midtown Manhattan. And that night at Madison Square Garden, the Houston Rockets and New York Knicks played Game 5 of the NBA Finals that NBC cut in and out back to the OJ car chase. Wild. ESPN made an amazing documentary about it called June 17th, 1994. I strongly recommend it, but go check out the replay. It's free right now. Everything on it is free, so check it out. I'll put links in at the bottom of this chat. Okay, let's see. Let's get started. Purely speculation here, but if I had to guess, which cabinet position would Trump give to Vivek Ramaswamy? I'm thinking head of OPM or OMB, as they both want to cut the workforce. Yeah, something like Office of Management and Budget or some job like that. I mean, he's not going to make Vivek Ramaswamy. Obviously, we're assuming Donald Trump wins the election. He's not going to make Vivek Ramaswamy the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense, both of which jobs I'm sure he thinks he is qualified for, but he is totally unqualified for. But yeah, he could make him like head of OMB or budget. That sounds like a good place for him. I don't know. Good idea. Let's see. Good morning, dear Chris. Great start from the South Puget Sound. Okay. Did I hear you right that you don't vote? For 34 years, I hammered into my high school students, use it or lose it. Respectfully, Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. You did. So I was talking, that was earlier in this week. I made a video about this free press piece that Yuri Berliner wrote, basically saying the media is super liberal. And I was just talking about my own self and how I've never voted. Yes, I have never voted in an election in my life. I am going to change that in 2024. I am going to vote. Why didn't I? I always used to say like, well, it's so I can be super impartial. The truth was it was really a defense mechanism because being in the media, you're such a target for people. And I didn't want to have to lie if people said, did you vote in the election and who did you vote for? The problem was, I don't think that would be indicative of anything, right? Really. But people would latch onto that and say, see, he's really a Democrat, or see, he's really a Republican. So I never did it. I've realized that was a dumb stance and that you can't worry too much about what everyone thinks of you. You got to just do stuff, and voting is one of them. So yeah, I have not before voted. That's not true. In 1996, a friend of mine was running for the Georgetown Council at Georgetown, like the local little city council at Georgetown, and I voted for him. But Other than that, no, not any national or federal elections. Okay. Marcy B. Do you think there's a chance Donald Trump simply won't show up for the Monday trial? If he did that, I wonder what they would do. Arrest him? No, he'll be there. Donald Trump loves a show. By the way, I went away from my LaCroix. I'm now at Polar. This is good. Black cherry. It's good stuff. He'll be there because he loves the show. Because at heart, Donald Trump is a reality TV producer. That's what he does, right? So he knows that this will be a big show. He knows it will give him a big platform to denounce the proceedings. He knows he can raise money off of it. So he'll be there. And by the way, for people who aren't like following this super closely, Monday is it's Monday or Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. Let's see. It's the 15th. So I think it's Tuesday. Maybe it's Monday. Donald Trump's trial on allegations that he funneled money through Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels, the porn star who alleged she was having an affair with him to keep her quiet in the 2016 election. That trial starts. So that's a trial we're talking about. Let's see. Yeah, as ideal idle notes, failure to appear is an additional charge. His bond could be revoked. I expect him to fake an illness. See, I don't. I think he's going to be there because I just think he loves the show. Let's see. What's an I love this one. Chris Fan Club 21. Great. Love it. I assume this is a fan club of all Chris's, not just me. What's an underappreciated state in general, like quality of life, scenery, etc.? I'll tell you. I got two. One, Iowa. Beautiful state. I spent a ton of time there. I could live in Des Moines or West Des Moines. Actually, Des Moines is not that great, but West Des Moines easily. Great culture, good museums, good food, good restaurants, good coffee shops, nice people. The Midwest is the best. So that's one. Now, granted, it's freezing all the time, so that would suck in the winter, but it's a lovely state. People are very nice. The other one is Montana. Again, weather is even worse in Montana, and I'm not really a cold weather guy. I don't like ski a lot or snowshoe or any of those things, but Montana is amazing. I think I could move there tomorrow and be happy. I'm not going to move there tomorrow, but I could move there tomorrow and be happy. So those are my two. Hi, Chris. Hello. You mentioned meeting your wife while working for the Cook Political Report. Does she work in journalism or politics? So yes, I did meet my wife when I was at the Cook Political Report. If you have not read my piece, I wrote a piece about my first job, which was at the Cook Political Report. It's on my Substack, my political one. I wrote a piece about my first job and everything it taught me and how thankful I am for it. So I'd love if you read that. My wife was in journalism. Yes. So she was, first, she worked in sort of graphic design for National Journal magazine. Then she was a reporter. Then she went to the marketing side, and then she became a field hockey coach, which is an interesting path, but she was a field hockey player in college, so not all that different. But yes, we met when she worked for National Journal and I worked for Charlie Cook. We were in the same building. She was on, I think it was the third floor, and I was on the second floor. But yeah, that's where we met. Let's see. Nick Bondurant from the Loomis Chafee Academy. My third time asked, I promise I won't ask again. What are your thoughts about a wage ceiling? Does anyone politically support such an idea? No. I mean, yes, of course, some people do. But no, a wage ceiling is not going to happen. But I do love the Loomis Chafee School. That is my alma mater for people who don't know. Windsor, Connecticut, private school, mascot, the Pelicans. Yes. James Lyon. Hey, Chris, big fan. Okay, thank you. I'm a Democrat in North Carolina. What are you thinking the odds are for moving the needle more blue in my state? Okay, hold on. I got my trusty. I always keep this bad boy near the Almanac of American Politics. So let me, while I'm looking, I think it depends what you're asking. So North Carolina has a governor's race and obviously the presidential race. In the governor's race, I actually think Democrats are going to win. Josh Stein, who's the attorney general, is the nominee for Democrats. Serious guy, credible guy, pretty moderate guy. The nominee for Republicans is the lieutenant governor named Mark Robinson, African-American guy, has said a million crazy things. Super radical. Cannot believe he became the nominee. Probably the most radical nominee that either party will nominate for governor in 2024. So I think they have a chance there. Presidential race is a little bit harder. I'm just pulling this out. Okay, so in 2020, Trump won North Carolina by a little less than 100,000 votes. In 2016, he won by 140,000 votes. And again, that's out of like more than 5 million casts. So probably going to be pretty close. I know there's like people who make the case that Mark Robinson is so radical as the governor that it could have up ballot impacts, that it could impact, turnout and that sort of thing on the presidential race. I don't know. I mean, my guess is turnout in the presidential race is going to be pretty high everywhere because it's Trump and Biden, and mostly Trump. If I had to list swing states, North Carolina would be the 7th swing state I would list behind. Let's see if I can do this. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia. Not necessarily in that order. But other than those, I said 7. What's the other one? North Carolina may be the 6th. Maybe the 6th. So I think it's on the outer rim of swing states. I think it's possible. I don't think it's. My guess is Trump probably wins by 2. Which would be an improvement on his margins from the past, but probably wins by 1 or 2. So yeah, I think the governor's race is more of a possibility. By the way, folks, if you haven't asked your questions in the comment section in the chat, I'm just scrolling through them in the order they came in. I'll try to answer them in the order they came in. I'm going to be here for about 45 minutes. I have a workout. Gotta get huge. I have a workout at 2 o'clock, so I got to be off by then. It's just at my house. Don't worry. I don't need to get to a gym or anything. So I got to be off by then. But I'm going to try and go about 45, 50-ish minutes. So I'll go as long as there are questions. If there aren't any questions after 20 minutes, I'll stop talking, right? Because that means you guys want to hear from me. But let's keep going. So if you have questions about anything, life, the universe, and everything, just let me know. Okay. Phil Reinhart, how much question or information is given before airtime to a guest on a TV talk show? For a politician, I guess 0, but for a neutral guest like an infectious disease expert, 100%. So I'll just talk about my experience. Both. So I was a contributor to MSNBC when I worked at the Washington Post, and then obviously I worked full-time at CNN, so I was just there. Usually they'll send you kind of the rough outline of the kind of questions that might be asked, but they always say, look, it's no guarantee the anchor can kind of take it in his own direction. They don't do that for politicians. They don't do that for newsmakers. But like if you're on a panel, I think they'll usually send you a rough outline. To be totally honest, I never looked super closely at those things. Or they'll say like, they might not even send you an outline. They might just say like, we're going to talk about Trump's comments in fill in the blank state and Biden's polling. Like they'll give you broad outlines of what the focus will be. To me, I always wanted to sound relatively authentic, relatively live, like not pre-planned, pre-pocketed answers. Maybe some people do that. Like I always remember this. I'd be sitting on a panel, right? And you're sitting at a table or whatever. And I'd be talking or just sitting there waiting to get asked a question or listening or whatever. And I'd look over and the person next to me, the guest next to me would have like 5 sheets of note pages. And I was like, I may not have prepared enough. So some people have different approaches, but definitely with a politician, like if Kamala Harris is going on Meet the Press, they are not like, Meet the Press is not telling her what they're going to ask her. That's not a thing. No network, as far as I know, does that. Let's see. Jalen Turner says, hey, Chris. Hello. How are you? Always good to see you. Let's see. Hold on. I skipped ahead on accident. Sam points out that Mr. Beast counted to 100,000. I should count to 1 million. Honestly, it would take me less time, I think, to count to 1 million than to pass his number of subscribers. Let's see. Want to hear your thoughts on the Senate, as I think judicial appointments for either Biden or Trump is going to be huge. Your thoughts about Montana, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Arizona. All right. Okay, let me do a quick Senate thing broadly. There are 23 Democratic seats up, and there are 11 Republican seats up. I'm not a math major, but obviously that's bad for Democrats and good for Republicans. Of the 23 Democratic seats up, 3 are in states that Trump won in 2020. West Virginia, Montana, Ohio. West Virginia has already lost for Democrats. Joe Manchin is not running again. Joe Manchin was the only Democrat who could get elected in that state. So that one is gone. I think Jim Justice, who's the Republican governor of the state, used to be a Democrat, is a Republican now, is going to be the senator there. Ohio, The Republican nominee is a guy named Bernie Moreno, car dealer, independently wealthy, had Trump's endorsement, had JD Vance's endorsement, won the primary last month. Democratic incumbent is Sherrod Brown, who's won repeatedly, despite the fact that Ohio is an increasingly Republican state. Out of the three I mentioned, West Virginia, Ohio, Montana, I think Sherrod Brown is the best chance because it's the least Republican state. Trump's going to win it, but I don't think he's going to win it by 20. Montana is hard. Tester has been elected and reelected a couple times. John Tester, the Democratic incumbent. I think he has a connection to the state. At the same time, look, it's a state. Let me get the handy book out again. But I'm going to guess that Trump won Montana in 2020 by 10 points. I mean, he definitely won, right? And that's a problem if you're John Tester, because it means you have to overperform the top of the ticket, Joe Biden, by at least 10 points to win. So let's see, 2020 Montana. Oh, I was wrong. 57-41. 57-41. Wow. So, yeah, that's a huge problem, right? So Trump won it by 16 points in 2020, even while losing nationally. So it's a really Republican state. So if you're John Tester, it means you got to overperform the ticket by probably about 15 points, maybe more. The top of the ticket, just hard. It's just a hard thing to do. So then once you get beyond those three, it gets a little better for Democrats, though they have a bunch of seats in peril, right? So there's Arizona, there's well, my wife just texted me and threw me off. Sorry, she's at the gym. Hello, Thumb. There's Arizona, there's Wisconsin, there's Michigan, and there's Nevada. Those are probably the next four, I would say, in terms of competitiveness. Arizona with Kyrsten Sinema not running, I think that makes it a little bit better chance that Ruben Gallego, the Democrat, wins. Nevada's tough because I think the economy is not great in the state. There's so much changeover in who lives in the state. I think that could be hard. People don't really know Jackie Rosen, the Democratic incumbent. Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan's an open seat. Debbie Stabenow's not running again. I tilt toward Democrats, but I think a lot depends on what happens at the top of the ticket. Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, I think, is a good candidate who is tougher to beat than people think. Now, you mentioned Pennsylvania. I'll talk about that one. Bob Casey is running. Dave McCormick is the Republican nominee. Wealthy guy, ran in the primary in 2022, lost to Mehmet Oz, the doctor. Is back again, is going to be the nominee. Depends on what happens at the top of the ticket. I think Bob Casey Jr. probably wins, but if Trump wins the state, who knows? Texas and Florida are the only two Republican states that are even worth talking about at all. Ted Cruz, I don't think is going to lose. Colin Allred is good candidate, former NFL linebacker, I think. Member of Congress, raising money. Ted Cruz is not great, but I think he's going to wind up winning. Same thing with Rick Scott in Florida. I don't see Rick Scott or Ted Cruz losing in a presidential year in Florida and Texas. I just don't. So I think that is a huge problem for Democrats because you're right. Appointments matter a lot. And I think Republicans are a 70 to 75% chance of winding up in the majority come next year. Okay, let's see. I'm going to keep going. Okay, the trial starts on Monday. That is helpful. The Trump hush money trial. Thank you. Sam says, I drove through Iowa en route to South Dakota in February, and it was so boring. I love the buffet at Pizza Ranch, though. Yeah, look, it's flat, okay? It's the Midwest. It is not geographically super interesting. But I'm just saying, like, for me, I mean, I'm not, like, going out and hiking and climbing mountains and stuff. For me, it is a lovely place with really nice people. I don't know. I just been there a lot, and I always liked it. States I could not live, New Hampshire. People are very surly. New Hampshire. I think I could live in South Carolina. Heat is a little much in the summer, but I think I could live there. Seems lovely there. Let's see. H. I like that. Just one letter. Could Trump support for RFK Jr. backfire on Trump? I mean, is he really supporting RFK Jr.? I don't get that sense. I mean, he said that, I think both sides, both Biden and Trump, are trying to figure out like what RFK Jr. does in the race, right? So he's at like 10-ish% nationally, which is a lot. It's the most a third-party candidate has been polling since Ross Perot in 1992. Does he stay that high? I don't know. Does he pull more from Trump or more from Biden? the stuff he said about January 6th, his stuff on vaccines, his, that stuff, I think makes it more likely he pulls from Trump. At the same time, his last name is Kennedy, Democratic legacy. Maybe he pulls some from very disinterested Democratic voters who aren't paying attention. So I don't know. I do think I've written this. I've talked about it. I'm going to keep saying it. I do think the number of unknowns around RFK Jr. are both a lot and really interesting because he is getting 10% of the vote. We expect him to make most of these swing state ballots. So like, that could have a big impact. Most of these swing states, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, these were states that were decided by like 50,000 or less votes. So if RFK Jr. gets 3% in some of these states, that's a huge deal. It's just, where does that 3% come from? So, but I don't get the sense that Trump is supporting him. I don't know. I guess I could be wrong about that. But Randy T, by the way, folks, I need your questions. If you have questions, ask them, because I want to answer them. Yes. Randy T, you were right on South Carolina basketball. So you're a sports nerd and U.S. politics nerd. Do you follow other countries' politics? A Canadian here. Yeah, I was. I knew that South Carolina was going to win the national championship. I said South Carolina against Iowa. I said it on this live stream. I was going to say podcast. This live stream last Friday. South Carolina against Iowa. South Carolina will win. Bingo, bango. South Carolina won. Honestly, I'm not really a sports nerd because let's be honest, South Carolina was undefeated going into the Final Four. So like predicting that they would win is not all that hard. I don't follow elections in other countries all that closely. Maybe I should. Maybe I can. I feel like I don't have that much time. Right now, I'm writing probably 2 to 3 things a day for the politics Substack newsletter. So what? And 1 thing every day for the replay, the sports newsletter. And I'm also making a video every day for YouTube, in addition to trying to like pick my kids up and at the bus and be a good dad, work out, so like, I don't feel like I have a ton of time, but maybe I should. I don't know. I guess I could get into Canadian politics. Justin Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau. I don't know. Do you think the New York Trump case will get caught up and delayed by the current Supreme Court immunity case? No. This one is going forward. This one has nothing to do with when Trump was president, right? This is about 2016. Trump paying, allegedly, hush money to Stormy Daniels through Michael Cohen to keep her quiet about an affair they allegedly had in the 90s, I think. Maybe the 2000s. Can't really remember. So no, this one is not going to be affected. All the other trials are, yes, slowed and affected by, except the Georgia case. The other 2 trials are slowed and affected by this case of like, does he have total immunity or not? And until the Supreme Court decides that, which is going to be in the summer, they won't move forward. But this one will move forward. Chris, stolen any good Starbucks orders lately? I have not. So people who were on this stream last week know that I stole, unintentionally, I stole a venti chai tea latte order from someone at Starbucks right before I came and did this chat. Today, this is straight out of my refrigerator. I stole nothing. So, and I didn't steal anything this week. Pretty good, right? I haven't stolen anything lately. Let's see. Nicholas Delat, Chris, still a fan. Wow. Okay. I'll take it. My wife and I are independent swing voters in Northern Michigan, a swing state. We are personally never Trumpers, but how much of an impact will Michigan independents have? Huge impact. Like for most people who live in like 43 of the 50 states, maybe 44 of the 50 states, the presidential election is kind of like you're not going to see any ads. You're not going to see the 2 candidates. But if you live in Michigan, you're going to see the 2 candidates. You're going to see a lot of ads, and your vote 1,000% could well decide the presidency, right? Michigan was really close. He goes to his trusty book. Michigan was really close in 2020, and it was really close in 2016. I would assume it's going to be really close in 2024 as well. So, let's see. 2016, Hillary Clinton won by. No, I'm sorry. Hillary Clinton lost. Sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Hillary Clinton lost by 11,000 votes. In 2020, Biden won by 150,000 votes. I would assume it's going to be close again. I mean, look, Clinton losing Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania was the whole election. Biden winning Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania was the whole election in 2020. So, man, it's going to be close. And if you live in those states, I hope you like TV ads because there's going to be a lot of them. So, yeah, they're critically important. You said, this is Josh Wilcox. By the way, keep the questions coming. I need them. I want them. Josh Wilcox, you said that you don't think there will be presidential debates this year. If they do come back, if so, do they come back in 2028 or would they be gone for good? I don't think there are going to be debates, though I could certainly be wrong. So Trump yesterday wrote a letter to the Commission on Presidential Debates, which runs these things, saying, we think there should be more debates and they should be earlier in the election process. The Biden people really haven't said anything. The networks, the 5 networks, major networks this week sent a letter to the Commission on Presidential Debates saying we really hope there will be debates. So there's sort of a pressure campaign. The ball is very much in Joe Biden's court. So what I will say is it kind of depends what he decides. I don't think it's in his interest to debate Trump. I think it's hard to debate Trump no matter what. He's like an asymmetric threat. He just comes at you from all different places. He doesn't listen. He bullies you. He talks over you. It's hard to get your points across. It's hard not to come across as like to sort of get down in the mud with him. And then there's the Biden age thing, right? So like, do they want to risk a 90-minute or multiple 90-minute debates where Biden has to think on his feet? Biden is going to be under heavy scrutiny, and even a little thing could hurt him. You know, if he mumbles or he stumbles or he looks like he's out of it or he looks old. There's just a lot that they can't control in a setting like that, and I think that will make them nervous, which is why I've been saying I think there probably won't be debates. That said, like if it happens, I won't be stunned. I'd be really happy, actually, because it's, for me, I like debates, even though I'm not sure they're edifying for the country in their current form. I was going to say it's good for the country. It's good for democracy. I mean, yes, if it was like the Lincoln Douglas debates, that would be true. But this is not going to be the Lincoln Douglas debate. So I'm skeptical you're going to learn a ton. I mean, for me, I really do like kind of the entertainment of it, the, you know, back and forth. So I'd like to see them. I just don't know if we're going to. Let's see. Harvey Rabbit says, I just lost what he said. Oh dear. Hold on. I'm getting there. Harvey Rabbit says, Chris, will you ever talk about the 1904 Olympic marathon race? No. Should I talk about the 1904 Olympic marathon race? I mean, I guess I can. I'll look it up. I don't know anything about it. Yeah. Marcy B. I live in Arizona. I keep hearing on the radio, not right-wing radio, that the abortion decision in Arizona will definitely swing Democratic. Do you agree? I also hear the border and the economy are important. So there are two conflicting things I have when I try to answer that question. One is, I think the nature of sort of politics and political analysis right now is that whatever has happened 30 seconds ago is seen as the most important thing that's ever happened and going to fundamentally alter the election. I'm skeptical of that. At the same time, do I think abortion is the best issue for Democrats? Yes. Do I in 2024? Yes. Do I think Republicans continue to step on the broom that smashes them in the rake that smashes them in the face? Yes, on this issue. Arizona Supreme Court decision is terrible for someone like Donald Trump, who's really trying to get away from talking about abortion. He wants it basically, we'll leave it to the states. States can do whatever they want. I favor exceptions for rape, incest, the life of the mother, and we won't have a national abortion ban. That's all he wants to say about it. He don't want to say anything else about that issue ever. But when you have the Florida State Supreme Court saying a 6-week abortion ban can go into effect, when you have the Arizona State Supreme Court saying an 1864 law that effectively outlaws abortion, all abortion in the state with, I think, no exceptions, maybe life of the mother as an exception. When that happens, it's impossible for it to go away in the national dialogue. So, yeah, I think it will be a big deal. I guess I'm a little skeptical when people say like, oh, well, that's it. Arizona's going for Democrats. I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know. I just don't know, right? I think it's too soon to say that. I love when people do the heart. Hold on, I'm going to do that. People highlight the heart. I'm going to do 100%. When people do the heart thing, that makes me happy. I hope that means you agree or you like me or something. I'm not totally cool with that. W. Gotrick, how do I think Kirk Cousins is going to do in Atlanta? Let me just say this. I love Kirk Cousins. Okay. He is one of my favorite athletes. I think he is a tremendously decent human. If you watch, I think it was called Quarterback, the documentary on Netflix, it was Mahomes, Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. And Mahomes is Mahomes, right? He's like a giant superstar. He lives in a big ass house. He's a celebrity. Cousins is like not necessarily that. He's like kind of a normal-ish guy. I loved him. He came across super great. When he tore his Achilles last season, like the next day or a couple days later, he was like on crutches handing out turkeys to needy families in Minnesota. I mean, he's a great dude. So I'm rooting for him to do well in Atlanta. I hope he does well in Atlanta. But I love him, and I may write about him at some point. I did a post on the Replay, my sports Substack, in case you're just signing in, which you should subscribe to because it's free, about my favorite athletes ever. My favorite athlete, and mine was Don Mattingly because it was my youth. Don Mattingly was on the Yankees, which is the team I grew up rooting for, and he was like my favorite athlete, which I distinguish from the best athlete I've ever seen. Right, my favorite athlete is like it's an emotional thing, right? It's like, why did he or she touch you in some meaningful way and sort of impact your life beyond just like the stats and not the fact that they were good? But I would definitely, for modern athletes, like Mattingly's obviously retired and is a manager now, I think I'd put Cousins up there for me. Let's see. Chris, who's your MLB team? Also, could you hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle? If not 90, how fast? I'm talking base hit, not just making contact. Okay. First of all, my team is the Washington Nationals. This is tough because we stink. Although we're getting slightly better. And we have some prospects in the next couple of years I think will eventually be good. I have thought a ton and had a lot of debates about whether I could hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. I think so. Your question is, could you not just hit it, but could I hit it for a hit, like not just foul it off? No. How many 90-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle would it take for me to make contact with one? 25, maybe more, 50. How many 90-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle would it take for me to hit one that is like a legitimate hit on a Major League Baseball diamond? 250? Maybe 150? I don't know. Maybe more. I never could hit. I could pitch as a kid because I was tall. I'm 6'3". People think I'm like 5'5". I'm 6'3". But man, I could not hit to save my life. So I'm taking the over rather on almost any line you set of how many pitches would it take for me to hit it. Danny Garland, do I think Florida could be a swing state this year? No. I just don't see it. It's moving away from Democrats, if anything. I think it's getting more conservative, not less conservative as a state. I think DeSantis has a real political machine in that state. I know he sucked as a presidential candidate, but I think he has a real political machine in that state that will turn out. I think the Democratic Party in the state kind of sucks. They're not terribly well organized. The infrastructure is not really there. And it's a huge state with a bunch of media markets. So if the Biden people really wanted to make a play there, it would probably cost $20 or $30 million. And my guess is, or more, my guess is they're not going to do that. They're not going to spend that money there when they could spend it in Wisconsin or Michigan or Arizona or Georgia or Pennsylvania. I just don't see it. I hope that makes sense. Allred was a linebacker for the Tennessee Titans for 5 years. Yes, thank you. Sam points out that you don't have to wear a seatbelt in New Hampshire. Yes, it's the live free or die state. I like wearing a seatbelt. I have no problem wearing a seatbelt. I do know a guy though, a friend of mine who lives in Virginia. I won't name him because I don't want him to be shamed. He does not wear a seatbelt. Like, what is this, 1980? My dad driving around in his Buick smoking with the windows closed? He did do that. Yeah. No, I don't care about seatbelts. Sarah H. Chris, I absolutely love these live Friday sessions. This is the political nerd talk I need. Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you. And I will take nerd as a compliment. I take nerd as a compliment. I was very nerdy when I was growing up. Not going to lie. Let's see. Do you have any writing tips for when you feel like you have a cool concept but need the piece to be longer? Suggestions on how to flesh it out more? Can I make a suggestion? Don't flesh it out more. Like, my general belief is most writing is too long. journalism and otherwise. I think most people feel like they have to write like this really long thing for it to be serious. I don't really buy that. So like when I first started writing on Substack, I remember people telling me like, you got to write long. People only want to read long things on Substack. And I was like, really? Like Substack is different from every other medium ever nowadays, which is people want shorter. Um, Longer writing is not necessarily better writing. I will say that. If you can make your point briefly, I think that can be hugely effective. I don't really worry about how long each thing I write is or is going to be. I hold on, I'm getting a call. I usually just write it, and if I feel like I've made the point I wanted to make, I cut it off. If I say that's it. I don't care how long it is. Substack tells you how long each piece is in terms of how long it will take someone to read. I think the longest thing I write is this mailbag post that I do every Friday. Where I answer people's questions, kind of like this. This week, it was 14 minutes, a 14-minute read. Now, some of that's inflated because I copy the questions people ask and then I answer them. So a lot of it's just text that's people asking questions. I think the longest stuff I write that's just me writing is probably 9-ish minutes, which is probably 1,500 words or so. I'll write most of the stuff I write is between 3 and 6 minutes, usually actually between 3 and 5 minutes. So I don't know. Give it the amount of words it needs to make your point. Don't keep making your point over and over again. I do that sometimes in writing and talking. Make your point, make it well, and get out of there. That's what I would say. Grumpy Cat, good call, Chris, in the Women's NCAA Championship. Thank you. Booyah. One man in Japan. I miss you on CNN, honestly. That's nice. I love being at CNN. It was great. I know I'm not going to say, I'd never say anything bad about it. I had a great experience. Still love most of the people who were there. Still talk to some of the people who are there. I don't think I'm going back there. If they offered, I'd certainly talk to them about it. I think I'm sort of headed in a different direction now, but yeah, I love being there. It was fun. Being on TV is fun. Let's see. Fran G, what news sources would you recommend to someone who wants to start following political news that are the least biased? I mean, man, that's a fraught question, obviously, but I'll tell you what I look at on a daily basis. I'm just looking at above my YouTube thing. I've got my my bookmark bar. So this is what's on there. This is not all political news, but this is what's on there. The Ringer, Axios, Wall Street Journal, Substack, YouTube, the Washington Post, the New York Times, Threads, Twitter, Facebook, Politico, Semaphore, Bloomberg, the New Yorker, the Atlantic. Let me see what else is on there. Sorry, I've got an extended ESPN, Drudge Report, The Athletic, Real Clear Politics. That's about it. So that's what I look at. I know people say like, oh, mainstream media, it's all biased. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to fight you over it. That's what I look at. I think that's a good place to start. I think I know a lot of the reporters who work at those places. I think those are really good. For Substack in particular, I really like Damon Linker. Notes from the Middle Ground. I really like the Bulwark. Obviously, they do good work. Jonathan Last is someone I'm a big fan of as a writer. I like Nate Silver. I think it's called the Silver Bulletin. Not totally sure, but I think it's called that. His Substack. So yeah, there's a few out there that I like. But I mean, everybody's got their own things. But I think if you went with that basic list of what I went through, you'd be pretty good. Josh Irvin. Hi, Chris. What would it take to get Marjorie Taylor Greene out of politics? I don't see it happening. Here's a scenario where it could happen. I don't think this would happen. Fox News offers her $10 million a year to host a show in prime time. Like Hannity retires and they offer a show. I could see that in 5 years. Right now, I think she loves being the center of attention. She loves being a bird in the broader Republican saddle. Could I see her going into a Trump administration? Probably, though I would say it almost certainly would be a lower profile for her than what she has right now, unless it was like a huge job, which I don't think she's getting. but yeah, I think the most likely thing would she like become like a talking head or an anchor on Fox because of the money, right? Being a member of Congress is not bad paying, but it's not millions of dollars. You're not going to get rich being a member of Congress. And so maybe she's got some aspirations for that in the long run. Grumpy Cat, who will win the Masters at Augusta? I'm rooting for the least likable guy who's on the leaderboard, Bryson DeChambeau, just because I kind of like that he is a weirdo. And he shakes things up. He has the clubs he's playing with currently are 3D printed clubs that were only approved by the golf USGA on Monday for use in the Masters on Thursday. So I just like that he's kind of a weirdo, doesn't really like care what other people think of him. A couple years ago, he got like super built, and then he was like, that doesn't work. So he's not as built anymore. I don't know. I just like a guy who does weird stuff. So yeah, DeChambeau's my guy. Scotty Scheffler will probably win. Let's see. Sterling. I think this is about my debate point. I disagree, Chris. Biden does well when being heckled while Trump crumbles like the thin-skinned person he is. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying Biden would crumble under being heckled by Trump. He was fine in the 2020 debates. I'm just saying there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of what ifs that go into a debate with Trump, particularly if you're Joe Biden, who's 81 years old. As for whether Trump crumbles when I don't get that sense. I just think he ignores it and just attacks. I don't think he crumbles, but I don't know. Let's see. Paul Sow, coming from the Obama Clinton Biden meetup, is the necktie dead? Yes. Fascinating. I think it kind of is. So what's interesting is obviously I spent the last prior to the last 18 months, I spent the 5 years prior to that in TV. And on TV, still for men, most people at that time wanted neckties. Like they wanted you to wear a tie. You could get away with not wearing a tie, maybe on the weekends, but like I think if the executive producers had their druthers, they would say wear a tie. I wonder if we're in a post-tie environment, like just a button-down shirt and a jacket. I wear when I had a lunch yesterday to talk about some business stuff. I wear like a jacket, jeans, white tennis shoes, and like a button-down shirt, which I think a lot of people wear. Like I think that's totally acceptable now to wear. Maybe not. Maybe I left and the guy was like, this guy's a real loser. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time I wore a tie. It was a while ago. It was probably the last time I was on CNN. I like this. Sam says, I think next week Chris should do the live chat wearing a tuxedo. What if I did the live chat wearing a Canadian tuxedo? Denim jacket, denim jeans. That's how I roll. Let's see. 43 minutes. Let me see if I can sneak in a couple more. Nicholas Talat says, I tend to look at the app Ground News. It shows potential bias in the same stories from many sources around the world. That way you can compare. Love it. He says it's like a good all-in-one. They are not paying me, just letting you know. That's great. Thank you for that. Robert Suzak, my wife and I think you're too genuine to be in the media. I mean, I try to be honest about stuff. I don't know. I try to be authentic. That's what I'm selling. You know, somebody told me a long time ago, you know, when you first start in TV, people are like, you should do this, or you should talk this way, or you shouldn't move your hands, or you should talk lower, you should talk slower. And somebody said to me once, hey, look, man, just be yourself. Like, if they don't like that, that's okay, but at least they were yourself. I guess you could say they laid me off, so maybe they didn't like that. But like, yeah, you gotta be who you are, right? When I write, when I talk, you gotta be your authentic self. That's the only way you're gonna be happy, I think. Here's a good one. James Kerr Lindsay is amazing for an informed look at international political situations. He's on YouTube. That's James Kerr Lindsay. LA sends that along. That's great. Sterling says a Jewish space laser would get Marge out of politics. Let's see. Nicholas Talat says you will get rich in Congress from some reason. As soon as they're in Congress, they become the world's greatest stock traders. Yeah, there is that. And look, if you're Kevin McCarthy, you were the Speaker of the House, and you resigned, like you're getting wealthy now. He's going to be a lobbyist. He's going to pay a ton of money to be a lobbyist. You know, like I'm not saying that perch can't be lucrative. I'm just saying I think it's unlikely making. I don't know what they make. I think they make $175,000 a year. I'm not totally sure about that. you're going to become super wealthy. I think it is much more likely that if wealth is your goal, becoming an anchor on somewhere like Fox News is going to pay you more money. Let's see. Question: can we bet actual cash on U.S. presidential elections? I think there are places where you can bet money on U.S. elections. I don't know what they are, but I think that there are obviously. I don't think in the United States, but I think there are ways that you can bet on the election. I'm not going to do that because I'm a gigantically bad bettor, but I think you can do that. Robert Hong, when do you recommend that we should start to pay attention to presidential polls? So I would say you should pay broad attention now, but know what they're there for. Right now, all polling is suggesting is sort of the way the wind is. This is me doing the way the wind is blowing. The way the wind is blowing, right? Like, and I would say like right now, the panoply of polling suggests that things are moving a little bit better for Joe Biden. Not amazing, but a little bit better. When should you really start paying attention to the actual numbers? October. I think before that, it's crazy. Unless all of a sudden Joe Biden in 50 straight polls that are released between, July and September is ahead of Trump by 10. Then you should pay attention because that suggests there's like a meaningful movement toward Biden. Otherwise, like, if it's 47-45, 50-48, that to me doesn't tell me all that much, to be honest. Let's see. Joseph Belland, do you think we'll see a change in how polling is conducted given how they've been kind of all over the place? Example, will we change from phone call polling to doing something to sample young people? So they already making a lot of those changes. They don't call landlines as much anymore. They call cell phones more. They include internet samples. So I think polling is changing, and I think polling gets kind of a bad rap, to be totally honest. People who are familiar with my riff have heard this before. I don't think polling has been that off. National polling in 2016 was right on. There were some state polls, particularly in swing states, that were wrong and had Hillary winning and she lost. 2020, the polling was very accurate. Downplayed Trump a little bit, but very accurate. So yeah, look, it's hard. I think the way in which people can be reachable is changing, and polling has to change with that. I think the biggest problem with polling is that we misunderstand what polling is. We take it to mean this is it. The number is 47-45. It is equal parts art and science. It is not just science. And it's a snapshot in time. It is not a predictor. Jeff Hawkins says, I looked it up, which you should have. Okay. No, it's not legal to bet on presidential elections, although people still do. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Let me see if I've got any other quick ones I can answer. Ghost Hack. Is this the most exciting election in your lifetime, or are you more hyped about previous ones? To be honest, this one, I don't know if I'm excited about it. It's a hard election, I think, because people are already so polarized, and really there aren't a ton of issues. Like, yes, abortion, yes, immigration, yes, the economy, but like, I don't feel like it's going to be an edifying election. I don't feel like people are going to learn much about themselves, about the country, about our politics, about our candidates. I just think it's going to be super nasty, and not great. Particularly, either way, if Trump wins, I think we're headed for a place that we haven't been before, which is kind of authoritarian tinge democracy. I don't think democracy is going to collapse, but I think he would move authoritarian elements into it. If he loses, he's going to continue to try to disrupt democracy by saying that the election was stolen, by saying that Biden's not the real president, by continuing to run maybe. So it's kind of like, I'm not excited, to be candid, about any of that. I'm passionate about politics. I think what we're doing and what we're talking about, what we're thinking about is important and matters, and we should be aware of it. But like, in terms of, am I excited? No. Let's see. Last one. Fun? Lulls. This isn't fun anymore. Nothing fun about things getting worse, which seems to be the general direction our political divide and love of wedge issues are causing. Yeah, it's not a time where I feel like we're solutions focused, right? I feel like we're focused on the wrong things. We're focused on dumb stuff that separates us rather than most things which unite us. which is not great. I'm going to continue to write about it, talk about it. I mean, it's critical what we're doing here, but fun is not what I would describe. Before I go, thank you to Fran G for the donation. I will use that not for Starbucks food as you designate. Folks, if you want to donate to me, love to have it. This is how I make my living, candidly. I need you to subscribe to the Substack. It's $70 a year, $7 a month. It's like a caramel macchiato at Starbucks a month. Subscribe to the replay right now. All that content is free. Anything you can do is helpful. I am this is how I do it. This is it. There's no secret man behind there. I don't have a money tree that I pick off of. So anything is helpful. Okay, we're at 50 minutes. I'm going to stop. I'll put links when I'm done. I'll put links at the bottom of this chat for my Substack. So the political one, So What, and the sports one, the replay. I will continue to do these. I hope you like them. I hope you spread the word. Love to get more people on them. Always love to get more subscribers on this YouTube channel. Always watch out, Mr. Beast. And that's it. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you for being engaged in American politics. That matters, right? That is our civic responsibility. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm going to go get swole and work out. Have a good weekend.